Alright homies, welcome to Boosted Builds. Today I want to tell you about Top Lillia, something I've been having a lot of fun with lately. This deer is great. If you don't know how she works, she has a Q that does AoE damage around her and with extra true damage in the center. If you hit someone with the edge of the Q, it does bonus true damage, as in all of her abilities give her move speed that stacks up to 5 times. Her W is a short range jump that does damage where you land and does bonus damage in the center. Her E shoots a projectile that bounces and then rolls across the map until it hits an enemy. This orb has global range, so you can snipe people from really far away with it. With her passive, all of her abilities apply damage over time burn effect for 3 seconds doing max health damage. Her ultimate will put any champion affected by her passive to sleep. It's really strong. I'm sure by this point you've seen plenty of Lillia in your games, so I don't want to make some kind of really long and drawn out general guide on the champion, because she's not that complicated and there are probably better guides for that. I specifically want to focus on Lillia top. Now I'm not saying that this build is broken, but it's a lot of fun. For me, I really enjoy kiting people back and forth with her move speed, and her roams are really strong when her passive stacked up. Her percent health passive damage and her true damage on her Q makes her great at shredding through tanks and bruisers. She can really bully slower champions that don't have a lot of mobility with her move speed as well. With the income you get in top lane, you can tank up a lot more easily, and she does plenty of damage just with getting a Liandry's alone. In my opinion, that's the only damage item you need. Anything else is luxury from there, and you can really just tank up and be extremely hard to kill between your move speed and your tank stats. It's not uncommon to only have Liandry's and do the most damage in your team, even if you're going for a full tank build, so don't be surprised when that happens. In lane, your game plan is basically to poke a lot with Q, and try not to push the wave unless you know it's safe to. You can use your W for extra damage, but it's often helpful to save that to dodge important skill shots that they have, or get out of trouble. Your E is also good for range poke, and it's slow so you can catch up to people. Try to keep your passive up as much as possible because that damage will add up so quickly even on the tankiest of champions. Look for good opportunities to roam because your Q has a really low cooldown so you can push waves really quickly. When you run to roam, try to get your passive stacks up so you can easily sprint down to mid lane. Your main game plan is to bully your lane opponent and use your gold to bulk up. From there, you want to play the game similar to a normal Lillia, where you use a lot of your move speed to get around the map quickly to gank other lane. You can still push in your lane, but you're generally more effective with your ult in team fights. Alright, let's get to the items. First, you're going to want to pick up a Liandry's. The burn on this item stacks with your passive to do ridiculous amounts of damage. It's honestly the only damage item you'll have to buy throughout the game to stay relevant. Swiftness boots is pretty much the only choice you're going to want here. It's what makes Lillia fun. You get to go super fast and you get to kite perfectly to land your Qs on people. Next up, you have a couple of options. Oftentimes, I'll just keep stacking speed with Winged Moonplate. That allows you to easily build into Force of Nature or Dead Man's Plate depending on what you need to itemize against. Usually though, I'll probably sit on the Moonplate for a bit and get another item like Frozen Heart. This item is great because it's pretty cheap and gives you a lot of CDR and armor, which helps with spamming your Qs. The spell haste on this thing means you get to spam your Q a ton in fight. That's where a lot of your damage ends up coming from. Another important item to think about is Gargoyle's Stoneplate. It's really nice if you need hybrid defensive stats. Chances are at some point you're going to want healing reduction, and this is where it gets a little tricky with Lillia. Your two options are Thornmail and Morellonomicon. You might think that you'd want Thornmail because it's a tankier item, but the problem with Thornmail and Lillia is that the enhanced healing reduction only applies when you immobilize a champion, which she can only do once per fight with her ultimate. If you can afford to be squishier, Morellonomicon's a better choice. The passive on it means that Lillia can easily apply the 60% reduction as she needs to. From there, it's kind of up to you. There are a couple options I've been thinking about, including Riftmaker instead of Liandry's. You could combo that with Demonic Embrace, which means you could still have the burn damage, but you'd have a lot of sustain as well. Also, you'd be converting a lot of your burn damage into true damage. The last notable item is Cosmic Drive. It's perfect for Lillia, but it doesn't make you tanky, so only get this if you're already pretty ahead and you don't need to be tankier than you are. You'll be untouchable in fights, and it gives you a ton of CDR. Keep in mind though that if you go for Riftmaker, you're losing a lot of the spell haste that Liandry's gives you, so you'll want to get that from somewhere else. For runes, we're going Phase Rush, Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Water Walking for your primary tree. We're really going all in on the move speed here, and I'm sure you know why at this point. For your secondary tree, I usually go Red Tree. It doesn't really matter what you take for your first point, but for your second point, you're pretty much going to always want to have Ravenous Hunter. This rune has always been good for Lillia, and you will be surprised at how many things you live through because of it. Hopefully you have fun as your opponents can never touch you while you're burning their life away. This build is super annoying for your opponent, especially if they're playing someone slow and tanky like Ornn. Just watch out for the more mobile bruisers like Aurelia and Aatrox who can really jump on you. I'll be honest. The only reason I'm even putting her in the lane is because I have a lot of fun with her, and I don't really have fun playing PvE with her in the jungle. It's a blast fighting people with her because so many champions just cannot catch her. If you like pissing your opponents off, this one's for you. If you like pissing off your teammates in Champ Select, this one might also be for you. If you like the build, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments or in my Discord. And lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll definitely be making more of these videos. Let me know how it goes if you try it out. With that out the way, let's show how it looks in action.